When you wake up in the morning, there's a voice in your head. It whispers quietly, sleep a little longer. Start tomorrow. You're too tired. It's not worth the effort. Most people think this voice is normal. They listen to it. They obey it. They build their lives around it. But what they don't realize is that this voice is not their friend. It's not protecting them. It's not guiding them. It's the weak part of their mind trying to keep them comfortable. And comfort is the most dangerous place a human being can live. Every single day, there is a war happening inside your head. It's not a war against the world. It's not a war against other people. It's a war between two versions of you. One version is the person you could become, the disciplined one, the focused one, the one who wakes up early, trains hard, works longer, and refuses to quit. The other version is the weak mind, the version that loves excuses, the version that fears pain, the version that wants comfort, distractions, and shortcuts. Most people lose this war before the day even begins. The alarm goes off, and they hit snooze. The workout gets skipped. The work gets delayed. The dream gets postponed. Not because they're incapable, but because the weak mind won the first battle of the day. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Your weak mind will always be there. It doesn't disappear when you feel motivated. It doesn't disappear when life gets easier. In fact, the stronger you try to become, the louder it gets. The weak mind hates discipline. It hates cold mornings. It hates long hours. It hates struggle. It hates sacrifice. And it will do everything in its power to convince you to stop. It will tell you that you're doing too much. It will tell you that you deserve a break. It will tell you that nobody else is working this hard. So why should you? And if you listen long enough, you'll start to believe it. That's how average lives are built. Not through one big failure, but through thousands of tiny moments where the weak mind wins. The moment you choose comfort over growth. The moment you choose distraction over focus. The moment you choose quitting over pushing one step further. Those moments stack up. Days turn into months. Months turn into years. And suddenly you wake up one day realizing you never became the person you were capable of being. But there's another way to live. There are people who fight back. People who refuse to let the weak mind control their life. They understand something powerful. Your mind is like a battlefield, and every thought is a soldier. If you don't take control of that battlefield, the weak thoughts will take over. The excuses will take over. The comfort will take over. But if you learn how to fight those thoughts, everything changes. The moment your mind says, I'm tired, you keep going. The moment it says, skip today, you show up anyway. The moment it says, this is too hard, you push harder, and something incredible begins to happen. Your weak mind starts losing power. Because the weak mind survives on one thing, obedience. The more you listen to it, the stronger it becomes. But the more you ignore it, the weaker it gets. Think about the hardest thing you've ever done. Maybe it was a brutal workout. Maybe it was studying late nights while everyone else was relaxing. Maybe it was continuing when everything in you wanted to quit. Remember that moment when you wanted to stop, but didn't? That moment right there is where mental strength is born. Not when things are easy, not when you feel motivated, but when your mind is screaming at you to quit and you refuse. That's the moment you take control of the battlefield. Most people wait for motivation before they act, but motivation is unreliable. Some days it's there. Some days it disappears completely. If your life depends on motivation, your discipline will collapse the moment things get difficult, and life will get difficult. There will be days when you feel exhausted, days when nothing seems to work, days when progress feels invisible. Those are the days when the weak mind becomes the loudest. It will tell you, see, it's pointless. You're wasting your time. You're not built for this. But those are the exact moments that define who you become, because winners don't silence the weak mind. They defeat it through action. They wake up when they don't feel like it. They train when their body is sore. They keep moving when everyone else stops, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they understand something most people never learn. Every time you beat the weak mind, you expand your limits. You prove to yourself that your thoughts don't control you. You prove that discomfort won't break you. And once you start collecting those victories, your confidence changes. Your identity changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You become someone who executes. Someone who does what needs to be done regardless of how they feel. That's the difference between ordinary people and mentally unbreakable ones. Ordinary people negotiate with their weak mind. They ask it for permission. Do I feel ready? Do I feel motivated? Do I feel strong enough today? But the strongest people in the world don't negotiate. They command. They wake up and say, "This is happening." No debate, no excuses, no discussion, because they understand that discipline is not about feelings. It's about decisions, hard decisions, daily decisions, relentless decisions. The war with your weak mind doesn't happen once. It happens every morning, every workout, every late night, every moment when quitting feels easier than continuing. And if you want to become unstoppable, you must learn how to win those battles, one by one, day by day, because the truth is simple. Your weak mind will always try to keep you small. But if you refuse to listen, if you keep showing up, if you keep pushing when it hurts, then one day you'll look back and realize something powerful. The voice that once controlled your life no longer has power over you. And that's the moment you stop being average. Most people believe the biggest battles in life happen outside of them. They think the enemy is their job, their circumstances, their past, or the people around them. But the real battlefield has always been inside your mind. The weak mind is not loud when life is easy. When things are comfortable, when the routine is smooth, when nothing challenges you, it stays quiet. It lets you believe that you are strong. It lets you believe you are disciplined. But the moment life becomes uncomfortable, the weak mind wakes up. The moment the workout gets harder, the moment the work becomes overwhelming, the moment you start chasing something bigger than your current self, that's when the weak mind begins to fight back. It starts negotiating with you. Take the day off. You've already done enough. You can try again next week. It sounds reasonable. It sounds logical. And that's why it's dangerous. Because the weak mind doesn't attack you directly. It convinces you slowly. It gives you comfortable excuses wrapped in logical thoughts. And the more you accept those excuses, the more control it gains over your life. Think about how many dreams die quietly, not in dramatic failure, not in public defeat, but in small private moments where someone decides to stop trying. The person who stops waking up early, the person who quits the gym after 2 weeks, the person who abandons a project that could have changed their life. It rarely happens all at once. It happens through small acts of surrender. And every surrender feeds a weak mind. The dangerous part is that once the weak mind wins enough battles, it begins to shape your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone capable of greatness. You begin to see yourself as someone who almost tries. Someone who says things like, "I wish I had the discipline. I wish I had the motivation. I wish I was stronger." But here's the truth most people don't want to accept. Mental strength is not something you're born with. It is built, and it is built through suffering. Every single mentally tough person you admire has one thing in common. They didn't run from discomfort. They walked directly into it. Look at people like David Goggins. He didn't become mentally unbreakable because life was easy. He became strong because he constantly put himself in situations where quitting felt like the easiest option. Long runs in brutal conditions, endless hours of physical pain, moments where the body begged him to stop, but he kept going. Not because he was superhuman, but because he understood something powerful. The mind grows stronger when it is forced to endure what it wants to avoid. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding discomfort. They avoid hard conversations. They avoid difficult challenges. They avoid anything that threatens their comfort zone. But every time you avoid something hard, your weak mind grows stronger. It learns that it can control your actions. It learns that all it has to do is create a little fear, a little doubt, a little discomfort, and you will back down. Over time, that pattern becomes your reality. You start building a life designed around avoiding struggle, a safe job you don't love, a routine that never pushes you, goals that never truly challenge you. And from the outside, everything may look fine. But inside, there's always a quiet voice asking a painful question. What if I could have done more? That question haunts people for the rest of their lives. Because deep down, everyone knows when they surrendered to their weak mind. They remember the opportunities they avoided, the risks they were too afraid to take, the dreams they convinced themselves were impossible. But the truth is, the war with your weak mind is never over. And that's actually good news, because it means you can start winning at any moment. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need ideal circumstances. You only need one thing: the willingness to do something difficult today. Maybe it's waking up earlier than usual. Maybe it's finishing the task you've been avoiding for weeks. Maybe it's pushing yourself 10 minutes longer when your body wants to quit. These small acts might not look impressive to the world, but inside your mind, they are massive victories. Because every time you do something your weak mind told you not to do, you take back control. You start rewriting your identity. You stop becoming the person who quits when things get hard. You become the person who continues when things get uncomfortable. And once that identity starts forming, everything in your life begins to change. Your standards rise. Your discipline grows. Your tolerance for pain and struggle expands. The things that used to break you become things you can handle. But the most important change happens in your confidence. Not the fake confidence people show on social media. Real confidence. The kind that comes from knowing you can trust yourself. Knowing that when things get difficult, you won't run. You'll fight. Because the war with your weak mind is not about eliminating weakness. It's about refusing to let weakness decide your future. Every day you step onto that battlefield again. And every day you have a choice. You can listen to the voice that tells you to stay comfortable, or you can become the person who refuses to obey it. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize something uncomfortable. The biggest obstacle in front of them is not the world. It's not their past. It's not their circumstances. It's not the people who doubted them. It's the version of themselves that keeps holding them back. The weak mind doesn't just try to stop you once. It tries to stop you every single day. And the more serious you become about improving your life, the more aggressive that voice becomes. Because growth threatens the weak mind. Growth demands sacrifice. It demands that you wake up when you want to sleep. It demands that you work when you want to relax. It demands that you stay focused when distractions are everywhere. And the weak mind hates all of that, so it creates resistance. It tells you that you're pushing too hard. It tells you that balance means taking it easy. It tells you that you've already done enough. But here's what most people fail to understand. The weak mind is not trying to destroy you. It's trying to protect you from discomfort. Your brain is naturally wired to avoid pain. Thousands of years of human survival depended on conserving energy and avoiding danger. But the problem is that modern life no longer requires survival. It requires growth. And growth is uncomfortable. If you want to build a stronger body, you must push through physical pain. If you want to build a successful career, you must endure long hours, rejection, and pressure. If you want to build an extraordinary life, you must learn to live in a place where comfort is rare. That is why so few people reach their true potential. Not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they refuse to stay in discomfort long enough to transform. Look again at someone like David Goggins. He talks often about something he calls the accountability mirror. It's a brutal concept. Instead of blaming the world for your problems, you stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself the truth about your habits, the truth about your effort, the truth about the excuses you've been making. Most people never do this because honesty is painful. It's easier to blame your job. It's easier to blame the economy. It's easier to blame your background. But the moment you stop blaming and start taking full responsibility, something powerful happens. You regain control. Because if everything is someone else's fault, you are powerless. But if you accept that your choices shape your life, then you also accept that you have the power to change it. This is where the war with your weak mind becomes real. The weak mind wants comfort and excuses. The strong mind demands responsibility. It says, no one is coming to save you. It says, if you want a better life, you must build it. It says, if you want strength, you must earn it. And earning it is never easy. There will be days when your energy is gone. Days when progress feels invisible. Days when it feels like everyone else is moving ahead while you are stuck. Those are the most dangerous days, because that is when the weak mind will whisper the loudest. It will tell you to slow down. It will tell you to settle. It will tell you that average is good enough. But if you truly want to win this war, you must learn one powerful skill. You must learn to act even when you don't feel like it. Not when motivation is high. Not when everything feels perfect. But when your mind is telling you to stop. That is the moment where champions are built. Because discipline is not measured on your best days. Discipline is measured on your worst days. Anyone can work hard when they feel inspired. Anyone can chase their goals when excitement is high. But very few people can continue when the excitement disappears. That is where the weak mind defeats most people. They start strong. They feel motivated. They push hard for a few days or weeks. But the moment things become repetitive, difficult, and slow, they lose interest. And once interest disappears, the weak mind steps in and takes control again. But the people who build extraordinary lives understand something different. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on standards. Standards that do not change based on emotions. Standards that do not bend when things become inconvenient. They wake up and execute because that is who they have decided to become. And once you reach that level of discipline, the weak mind slowly begins to lose its power because it realizes something. You are no longer negotiating. There comes a point in this war where everything begins to change. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger. At the beginning, the weak mind feels powerful. Every excuse sounds convincing. Every challenge feels overwhelming. Every difficult moment feels like proof that you should stop. But after enough battles, something shifts inside you. You start noticing that the things that once felt impossible are now simply part of your routine. Waking up early is no longer torture. Pushing through a hard workout no longer scares you. Working longer when others quit no longer feels abnormal. It becomes who you are. That is the real transformation. Most people think success comes from one big breakthrough moment, one lucky opportunity, one perfect decision that changes everything. But the truth is much less glamorous. Success is built in the quiet moments when nobody is watching. The early mornings when your alarm rings and you get up anyway. The late nights when you finish the work that others would leave for tomorrow. The extra mile you run when your body says it has had enough. These moments may seem small, but they are powerful. Because every time you push past a weak voice in your head, you strengthen the identity of someone who refuses to quit. And identity is everything. Once you truly see yourself as a disciplined person, your actions begin to match that belief. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop waiting for motivation. You simply execute. This is something that people like David Goggins talk about constantly. He often says that most people only operate at a fraction of their true potential. They stop when things become uncomfortable. They stop when things become painful. They stop when things become inconvenient. But human beings are capable of far more than they realize. The body can go further. The mind can endure more. The limits we believe in are often just mental barriers created by fear and habit. When you learn to push beyond those barriers, your world expands. Suddenly, challenges that once seemed terrifying become opportunities to grow stronger. Failure no longer feels like defeat. It feels like training. Rejection no longer destroys your confidence. It strengthens your resilience. Pain no longer scares you. It becomes proof that you are moving forward. And this is the moment when the war with your weak mind begins to tilt in your favor. Not because the weak voice disappears. It never does. Even the strongest people in the world still hear it. They still feel doubt. They still feel fatigue. They still experience moments where quitting would be easier. The difference is that they no longer obey that voice. They hear it and keep moving. That is the ultimate level of mental strength. Not the absence of weakness, but the refusal to surrender to it. Every day you wake up, the battlefield is waiting for you. The weak mind will still whisper. It will still offer comfort. It will still try to convince you that today is not the day to push harder. But now you understand the truth. That voice does not control you. Your discipline does. Your standards do. Your actions do. And the more you continue to win these daily battles, the more unstoppable you become. Because the strongest people in the world are not the most talented. They are the ones who refuse to stay weak, the ones who showed up when it was hard, the ones who kept fighting when quitting would have been easier. So the next time your mind tells you to slow down, the next time it tells you that you've done enough, the next time it tries to pull you back into comfort, remember what this war is really about. It's about the person you are becoming. And every time you choose discipline over comfort, you win.